Former Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller had a distinguished 17-year career in the U.S. Marine Corps. Well, that is until he posted a video on Facebook calling for accountability from leadership following the disastrous U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan last summer. For that, he was imprisoned, court-martialed. He's now a civilian. But he's still calling for accountability in his brand new book, Crisis of Command, an outstanding book. Please welcome to the show, Colonel Stuart Scheller. Colonel, that was the same kind of welcome you got at the Pentagon when you did that Facebook post, didn't it?
No.
But these folks, I think you're going to find are a little different than some of the people that you encountered. You made a Facebook video after the decision was to leave a lot of Americans stranded behind. We were all heartbroken at the 13 servicemen and women. But it was also a disaster to think that we left $75 billion of military hardware and hundreds of Americans that we said we wouldn't leave behind, and yet we did. You said there was no accountability for that. What welled up in you? I mean, you knew it was a career ender for you to do this, but you did it anyway.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, this is something that I've spent my whole life doing. I studied foreign diplomacy. I've deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan. And when you're young, you have all these ideas. You're idealistic. You want to serve. You want to go to the edge of the empire. You want to leave a better America for your children. And through my career, I became disenfranchised with the way the system was working. It became more about career progression and pleasing your boss than these values that are espoused on an everyday basis. And I got to a moment where, as a leader, I was equivalent of a mid-level manager, a battalion commander. I could have remained silent and complacent, and then I felt like that almost indicted me as part of the problem. And I didn't go into that day expecting to make a video, but it was one of those things where I needed an outlet. There was no publication that was going to publish those honest words. There was no process in the military system that would have accurately addressed them. And I really didn't have any recourse. And I knew from my experiences that not only would no senior leaders accept accountability, but that they would spin it as a success. The military has figured out how to weaponize the narrative, and I've watched this take place. Hollywood's part of it. I mean, I grew up watching Black Hawk Down. You watch that, you want to run through the streets and be one of those warriors in Somalia. If you study the operational failures of Somalia, it's very disheartening. And so I felt service members deserved honest, accurate, timely assessment of failure, because that would validate their sacrifices more than all the go to the counselor because you need help because you're struggling with something, without acknowledging the real source of frustration.
I remember seeing that first post that you did and subsequent things that you said. The most powerful statement of all the people that were involved in that, not one person got fired for what happened, that you were the only person in the entire military who lost his job over what happened, and it was because you spoke out.
That's right.
Now, you knew they were probably going to come after you, right?
I did.
You expected that you would probably lose your commission, you would end up getting drummed out of the military.
What I thought would happen would they would fire me, there would be an investigation that would take place, I would ultimately be relieved, but that it would start a conversation. And if I was a leader of any organization, and you have a mid-level manager that speaks out and taps into a sentiment of a very large population, you need to reprimand that employee, get the order back in the system, yeah. But then you take that employee and you go around the organization and you address the source of frustration, because that's obviously a cancer in your organization, right?
Yeah.
And so that is what I expected from my leaders. So I was willing to give up my continued advancement to, I thought that the gain would outweigh that. And so if they took me around and talked about, hey, you're right, we made mistakes, but the mistakes are made, but let's figure out how to fix the mistakes so that going forward, there's not an unnecessary loss of life. I mean, that's what it's about. It should be about protecting the service members, making us a more lethal organization. That only comes through honesty.
I know that there were many people up the ladder of rank that were very angry at you and wanted to just do whatever they could to destroy you. Underneath you in the rank and file was a different story. Tell us about that.
Yeah, first of all, I'm pretty tough to destroy, so I think they underestimated that. Number two, I think there absolutely was. There was a sharp divide. The junior service members felt like they finally had a voice. And so when I was going through my ordeal, I made that first video at the end of August. I didn't get out until Christmas Eve. There was a large portion of that time where I was still coming to work every single day. And when I drove through the gate guards were hugging me, taking pictures, hanging out with the junior Marines. But then I'd go into my office where I had a detention office where I had to sit outside the commanding officer's desk so he could stare at me. And
so like being put in the corner at
school.
school, right?
I was in the corner, and all the other field grade officers, it was just this, a shift at work where we just kind of mean mugged each other and no one was happy. So there was a sharp divide.
What was the public reaction? Because there was an outpouring that I was watching where people appreciated your candor, your honesty. They recognized you weren't asking to be let off the hook for taking the position, but they appreciated the guts you had to say, hey, something went wrong there, and we need people who are accountable for that.
The American people are the most compassionate people in the world. I truly believe that. And you started with, if you're a leader and you make a mistake, all you want is ownership. Even going through my ordeal, there was many mistakes that I made, but when people are observing an individual trying to do the right thing and has humility, the American people circle around that individual and want to protect that individual. And I felt like that's what the American people did with me. You can go online and get lost in, the tough guys on Twitter. But the truth is, every time I go out and I talk to someone and engage with crowds like this, I overwhelmingly get support. And what I've really realized is how hungry the American people are for leadership and courage, because kind of almost across the board.
I think you're right. And by the way, I'm not sure that the Marines, they may not want to continue to call you Colonel, but you're always going to be Colonel Scheller to me. You earned it. You've shown your courage. This book, I've read most of it, Crisis of Command. If people want to know something about what's happening in our military from somebody who's experienced how harsh it can be for those who have the courage of their convictions, this is a book you'll want to read. And Colonel, I want to say thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for being an example of somebody who says, my country means more than my personal career. And that's the position you took, and we thank God for it. I hope people will pick up the Colonel's book for even more of the story that you've heard just a snippet of. The book is Crisis of Command. It is available right now. It's easy to get the book because we made it easy. We've got links. All you got to do is go to Huckabee.tv. We have direct links to how to get the book.